So technology barriers. I hate this one because I agree with Vint. There should be no technology barriers to information sharing, but there are, right? So networks don't connect, or if they connect, routers suddenly pop up in the middle, and then your connection's broken. This has happened to me before. System access isn't there. You can't find the guy to create a logon for you. Aging infrastructure. The stuff's old, and my monitor won't plug into that old computer. There's no way to. Aging infrastructure is an issue, and these all kind of create physical barriers, right? So we can't do anything about that. This one's a big one for me. There's awareness barriers. We have issues. We don't know what we don't know. I can tell you, I don't know about all of the data in the Department of Homeland Security. After 2.5 years of crawling through, I still don't know. I think I know about 75% of it. So if I don't know it, how can you know it? And how can we figure out what we want to share with you if we don't even know what we have? And it's not just DHS. It's every agency I know. This is a challenge everywhere. And so discovery as a platform, figuring out how we, at a minimum level, make available what we have to share. Not even make available to share, but what we have to share. What can be shared and what we have to share is a big barrier, and it's one that takes a good part of my day job. Then there's the culture barriers. I don't know if I like you, so I'm not sharing with you, right? So it's the law enforcement. I didn't work on the JTTF with you, but I did with him, and so I'm going to call him and share that little piece of information because I trust him. Well, IT people do the same thing, right? It's not just the LE guys. I'm only calling the guy in the help desk I know that's going to help me. And I'll weed through all the rest of them. And I'll just keep calling until I get the right guy. So there's that cultural barrier, regardless of what mission you're in, regardless of what domain. People work with people, and there are cultural barriers that we need to get through. Part of why it was so important for me to keep working very hard at getting as many of you here as possible is because these types of events help break down those cultural barriers for us and our communities. So it was very important for me to keep. This conference almost got canceled a few times, and I took my big bat and went to bat for you. So the one that we're here to solve, though, this is the one that the NIEM program was really developed for, is just the language, that common set of terms that we can agree upon. I say arrest, you say detainment. What do we really mean when we talk about that? And so what do we mean when we're sharing that type of information? That is the common language barrier issue. That is why NIEM was developed. First and foremost, if you haven't learned already, NIEM articulates a common dictionary of these terms. I hope you, at least halfway through this conference, know about the dictionary, have a sense of what's in that dictionary, and more important, know who to talk to or where to go for resources on more information on parts of that dictionary. If you don't, we're not doing our job. So creating and governing a dictionary of 5,700 elements, nearly 5,700 elements. It's a big dictionary. 2,200 types, that's like combinations of elements, right? So it's still a really large, it's no small task. And this is really largely in part because we have strong governance from all levels of government and from industry. And ooh, lights are going on and off. Must be the governance word. Ooh.
The lights came on.
So recently we tested this governance. We tested it hard with the release of 2.1. What you haven't seen, you've seen the release, you've seen us talk about it for probably about 6 months. What you didn't see is the previous 6 months of us, working. And so 2.1 took about a year, or a little more than a year. So first I want to take this an opportunity to let you know who worked on it. So everyone who in this room, and I know who you are, so if you do not stand up, I will call you out. So everyone who in this room worked on the 2.1, the domain stewards, business architecture, technical architecture, teacher, will you please stand up? Come on, let's go. These are your people, right? It takes a small army, and for everyone here, there's probably another 5 or 6 that aren't here. This was a major effort, and I would like to take the time to just kind of give you a round of applause. So, and this is a special call out to our partners at GTRI. I don't know if you know, but in the middle of the last week of getting this out, members of GTRI, their homes were flooded. They were out on rescue boats looking for victims, finding bodies. Yet, we still got our release out 3 days early. So, you know, I've been flooded before. It's a humbling experience, and I just want to thank you especially for even getting here and having to get to the airport in those situations. So, thank you, John and crew. So, the second thing that NIEM offers, and this is one I've heard, I keep hearing this over and over and over. Hey, the biggest value you've got is that IEPD thing, that process by which you articulate the information exchange, the IEPD. First, let me thank you for creating that acronym, whoever did. Whoever did, it's been a challenge explaining that over time to the Secretary of the Department, but we don't have the IEPD. Doesn't work. It's really not right. This is not fluid. You could have come up with something a little better. Not nominated this year. So anyway, in the process of going through the IEPD, even though we're only about common language in the process and articulating it, you hit those other barriers. At one point or another, categories of those other barriers prevent you from going forward. Most likely, the one, if you don't work it fast, early, and often, is privacy and legal. So one of the better applications that I was a little disappointed wasn't submitted for the Best of NIEM Awards, the suspicious activity reporting. Boy, this is a really good case. The initial team that started those conversations with the locals, local police departments, people, you know, what should we share around suspicious activity reporting? What can we share? What should we share? What is of use to share? Quickly ran into the identification of a lot of barriers associated with retention of information based on 20,000, you know, local police department retention rules, right? So no progress was made in that exchange until they addressed those privacy legal issues. No progress. Lots of conversation, lots of spin, a lot of hours, but no progress. So today, you know, I've heard the ACLU bless what their approach, right? So they brought privacy in, they walked through it, and today the National SAR Initiative, it boasts, well, it's still a pilot or a test, it boasts information sharing across 12 sites, 12 local state sites sharing information with the big bad federal government, right? Because they trust the solution. They trust that when they put their data somewhere, they control it. When they put it there, their retention rights are respected because they control it. So it's the IEPD is important, NIEM is important, but it's only part of the it's only part of that situation. So, oh, and if you want to learn more about the National SAR Initiative, 245 today in track 5. So what's the future of NIEM? If I look in my crystal ball, you can't see it because it's only in my mind, but if I look in my crystal ball, it's confusing because there are multiple paths for NIEM. Oops, maybe I should do this. There we go. Keep up with the slides. So there's what we're doing today, that force behind IT renewal and that force behind exposing data in proprietary systems. So, you know, you heard one of the best of NIEM applications, the CIC JIS. Again, thank you for that large acronym. Who decided to re-architect and did it in a way that kept their production systems up. They increased capacity, and they did it not by taking the mainframe away, but by architecting that information exchange and using NIEM, right? So NIEM can serve as that force. That's a force that we're doing also in the Department of Homeland Security. A lot of leverage, a lot of work still to be done on NIEM in that case and on that path. But the second path I see that's going to come, and we're going to need to understand if we play, or when we play, or how we play, is building that bridge to unstructured content, right? So I don't know the statistics. I do know that there's more unstructured data out there today than there are data in structured containers. There's more structure out there, unstructured, more unstructured data than there is in databases, spreadsheets, or some sort of container that has structure around it. And with this administration really endorsing Web 2.0, that's not going to get any smaller, and that the importance of that information is not going to get any shorter, right? So, is there a play for NIEM to start understanding how to leverage that, right? And I think there are some industry partners here. They're not on the agenda. There's some industry partners here that say yes, right? So Bill Stewart, if you see Bill Stewart running around the halls, I've heard he has a demo. Bill, raise your hand. He's got a demo and thought through some of how we could use NIEM to harness that unstructured data. And I think it's a path that we need to look at pretty closely. It's a big path. The third path is why I invited our first keynote speaker. In the kind of pivotal career peak I had when we were whiteboarding on the importance of NIEM and what NIEM can do in cloud computing. So I have this concept in my head that I talk about, and I talk about it as relates to data independence. And Vint kind of alluded to it as well. So data independence to me really is data becoming so intelligent, so protected, that it can move seamlessly across clouds. It can move seamlessly across any application device, right? Little, big. It's smart enough to know what it should do, a little bit, self-describing, a lot of metadata with it, controls with it, and for discrete purposes, it can move around these many things, these clouds, right? So that's data independence. We started data independence in the 80s by moving our code and our definition of our data away from our database. Right, so I think there's still work to do left on data independence in cloud computing. And there is room when Vint talked about those vocabularies in between the clouds to protect that data. I talk about it in the kind of the form of a digital rights, kind of for specific discrete packages, right? So suspicious activity reporting. It's a pretty discrete purpose. You know, is there a way to protect that as it moves around clouds? Similar to how frustrating it is sometimes for me when I download from iTunes music, and they say I can use it on 4 devices. But what they really say is I can use it on 4 Apple devices, right? So I can't put it on my non-Apple phone, which is frustrating because they say 4, but they don't really mean 4. And so we can protect it, but we need to make sure that we go a little beyond what digital rights today does. So regardless of what path we take, or if we take all paths, suddenly we become a little bigger than what I think we might be. I'd like to talk about kind of the growth of NIEM in 4 areas. I'll talk about the model content, the model, what's in the model, what we think is going to come into the model. Talk about the technology and the structure of the model, how the model is implemented. Talk about the IEPD we need a new name for that, the IEPD life cycle process. And then just talk about the people and how we harness your efforts. So health, right? That's not the biggest conversation in the country today, health. When we were told that we would have to address health, I think I probably had a mini heart attack and a mini stroke at the same time. Right. It's a big conversation. Billions of dollars. You heard John Teeter. Billions of dollars have gone into this over the past 10 years. And they're not as far ahead as some of the little GGXDM type of applications that we've had. So health is very complex. But let me tell you why I think there are some applicability. So let's take this use case. Person, credential, benefit. Sound familiar? Person presents a credential to get a benefit. Kind of sounds like health to me, but it also sounds like citizenship and immigration. It sounds like FEMA in a disaster, and it sounds like a driver's license in the privilege of driving a car. So today, NIEM is being used at CIS for benefits administration. Very 3 common use cases for the best of NIEM at FEMA, disaster assistance. And I know it's oversimplification, but there's things in the model today and the way we use the model that can be applied to some of the basic core services in health, Medicaid, Medicare fraud, as they talked. I have a person. Does this person with this credential, are they allowed to have this benefit?